Mem? Memmy mem mem mem.
Do not make him your enemy, even though he may seem frail and weak.
When a valiant warrior from afar assaulted the grove, he shattered their strength with only his eyes and pointing stick. He sent them running, pride cut to the quick.
He may seem cold and unkind, but he sees through human emotions with just a peek.
A student was troubled by love's trials and aches. With one sentence, he guided them away from heartbreak, letting destiny's strands weave a path to love and happiness's shape.
All is science, and human wisdom knows no bounds. Both martial prowess and emotions are knowledge that can be found.
He firmly believes that all things can be deciphered, bared to those who peek. Those that cannot be solved are not mysteries infinite, but only questions waiting to be answered, not obstacles bleak. For those who only protect themselves, the world cannot see their intentions. In sorrowful parting hours, the scholar refuses trifling matters. Isolated in a corner of his library, he fiddles with instruments of crafters. Colleagues suspect him of creating new blasphemies, while students believe him to be making new miracles of mastery. The curious one's gaze through the window beholds, seeing a small wooden bird on the table, wobbling in comfort, swaying in the scholar's hand, an endearing cohort. I ask him, seeking his motive for this effort, but the scholar, usually so quick to retort, refuses to answer, seemingly coming up short. Creatures that through his hands pass all change their functions, invoking wonder peerless. He once removed his hat, as others witnessed, then walked on the hat over water with success. They also saw him light a flare, fearless, instead creating chilling cold air, not so harmless. That bird was once a toy, and now his messenger. Or perhaps still a toy. That is the magic trick of his success, and one of his teachings that he will profess.
Nothing in this world is ever born fixed.
The far-seeing must be far in thought. His teachings are like prophetic delight, yet he opposes prophecies with all his might. It's a time he refrains from looking back on, traveling all lands, chasing prophecies, trying to prove the priest's words were not unchangeable foresight. Countless times he exhausted his crafty sleights, wanting to rescue the doomed and resurrect whites, wanting to shame the prophesized heroes of magic and might, wanting to sway promised villains to a course more upright. Perhaps fate could not guess his goals, but it could trample over his plans overnight, At the end, all his challenges flicker out, but he persists still in endless plight. His ambitions are too lofty, and so failure follows him never too softly. Through moments of defeat felt increasingly common, the scholar learned one thing he has never forgotten. Respond to defeat with a smile haughty. Not from optimism, nor from a defeat of the heart.
I thank this misfortune's severity.
The laughter oozes with self-mockery, but is also full of a different emotion.
If this road is easy to walk, then future generations will not praise my name in piety,
says his ambition. A thief tells a few stories.
The first story is titled, "The Golden Apple." It doesn't have to go to the fairest.
That city is named Paphos, where the golden light of Nestia shines. The golden apple tree sits in the city's middle. Only the fairest can pluck its apples. The beauty pageant begins on time, as the fair ones stretch their supple arms, trying to pluck the fruits above their heads. Yet every time the apples come within reach, a breeze blows the fruit away without a trace. The audience in displeasure disbands, with only one girl left standing there, her features bland. Yet to her surprise she finds her arms full of golden fruits, a harvest grand.
The second story is titled, "Trying to Argue? Don't trick yourself, please."
That city is named Idylia, where Circe's roots bury deep and wide. The sophist scholar holds a tortoise aloft, but his theories, common sense bereft.
Even the best athlete could never catch up to this turtle.
None can overturn him in arguments, and he obtains the champion's crown in merriment. Yet, as he is about to leave, a wind blows the tortoise in front of him. And behold, his paradox becomes truth. To catch up to the turtle, an entire day and night he spent.
The third story I will tell is titled, "A Competition in Trickery. Who do you think is the Grandmaster?"
That city is named Dolos, where even Zagreus was once tricked. The king promises to reward the perfect lie, wishing to recreate the deceit of the Titan, his grand feat.
I think the world is a gourd.
In truth, we are all already dead.
The liars take their turns in the challenge, but no one pleases the king. With a gust of wind, the girl emerges before the king's face. And when she leaves, she already has the king's promised gold in a pouch. The others are curious as to what lies she raised.
Zagreus can only tell lies. And I am Zagreus. The fourth story is called You Like Money. Good. But you must pay the price.
That city is called Mithimus, where the sea breeze intoxicates the people with delight. A wealthy penny pincher prays to the Titan.
Please give me the power to turn anything into gold.
With a breeze, the rock in his hand turns to gold. But his joy is fleeting to behold, for with one embrace, his wife turns into coins, scattered on the soil. He howls at Fagusa to retract the blessing, but sees a girl in a hood in passing. The girl laughs hilariously, holding his hand in hers.
Go back and check your vault. Some gold may be missing. But your beloved is right there, waiting.
Cyphera, you took another long journey.
And we want to hear your fun stories!
The girl with the hood dangles her feet in the bath as 2 coins dance and fly between her fingers.
Basically, I visited 4 places, tricked them to my heart's content, and came back fully rewarded.
The girl pauses her words and looks out the window as the light above the Titan's shoulder casts her right cheek aglow.
The dawn will never cease, and the thief star wanders in foreign lands. How would you know that I am not lying right now?
In the past, when strife swallowed the earth and schemes disrupted the hearts of friends, the maiden who was yet a weaver was wrapped in a cocoon most grand, untouched by the storms sweeping through the land. She spent her youth in a palace of romance, surrounded by treasures, with even maids beautiful beyond belief, often bathing in the praise and admiration of wealthy nobles. Till warfare set the threats aflame, and the devoutly praying priest was slaughtered before the altar. The family adored by all perished before their courtyards, and the blood of her maidservants dyed her golden mantle red. The golden threads covering her eyes snapped, and the concealed truth finally appeared firsthand.
Before a strong wind, a weak nobility cannot stand.
In the long, endless war, the Gold Weaver family was shattered by the sword, and the legacy of romance became a tragedy. She had a broken mansion and an empty house. The nobles who once loved her, none now willing to help her. All the romance, talent, peerage, and beauty, what use are they in a disaster? As she closed her eyes in melancholy, the maidservant pushed a broken loom to her earnestly.
Miss, would you like to pick up the shuttle again and weave for me?
The young miss wanted to laugh, but could only respond with shock. For the maid's face was now covered in scars, as she fought to protect her mistress's safety.
Though I can no longer see, I still want to don the garments you weave.
And yet, when she heard this, the desire to weave overcame her fears. Therefore, in the broken shadows of a house, the loom of romance moved once more. The garments were exchanged for copious gold, buying back her renown of old. Yet beside this mistress most noble, there was always a blind maid in tow, dressed in luxuries unfitting. As the weaver attended banquets, the praises of her youth returned.
That majestic lady must be Nestia in the flesh.
But harsh words also joined.
The mistress's beauty is quite reduced by a maidservant so unsightly.
The maidservant apologized in embarrassment, lowering her head.
My mistress, I have brought you shame.
Yet her mistress brought her to the middle of the ball, having her garbed in the latest dress as the model. She now knew that praises and ridicule were both untrue, and that romance cared not for beauty of the face. The golden thread of gods exists only within. She is no longer that helpless girl. She already carries the gods' authority and walks the hero's route. But she still cannot hold back the calamity of strife. The unsightly maidservant blocked the dagger aimed at the mistress's soul, and blood once again dyed red something she wove. That was the last time in her life the maid's face she clearly beheld. When sewing the death shroud, she could not control how her fingers shook, often pricked by the needle, sharp and acute. Thus, that pristine white cloth wept with tears of blood and gloom. And when the day of the funeral came, she saw the commoners' endless graves, and the nobles dressed in silk frolicking in the groves, and sadness overwhelmed her in droves. Is this the destiny unleashed for their act of chasing God's core flames? She kneels before the divine statues and prays to Nestia of romance to look at these garments soaked in blood from the flames of war.
Why are those that appear so fair in fact ugly in truth? Why do faces unsightly contain souls cut from noble cloth? Why can the blind see the light? And why do those with eyes only see night?
The dying god remains silent.
If you no longer have the power to see, then with my destiny,
She grasps the burning core flame.
I'll exchange for eyes that can see everything.
Warm liquid flows from her eyes that now see all. In that instant, she is sure that she saw the manifestation of beauty.
To die for glory is not eternal sleep.
This is a lie all Castrum Kremnos keeps.
The world after death is superior to reality and basks in light.
But such vague poems the Crown Prince would not easily believe.
Cowards who dare not to look death in the eye.
He declared thus on the day he returned from the stream of souls.
Longing for a martyr's heaven and reciting self-deceiving stories.
His words are sacrilege incarnate, more arrogant than his blood and family.
True warriors should treat that paradise with spite.
Many followers thus stop, no longer following his steps, for they feel this young man's words, compared to poems, are even more absurd. A body immortal equals not perfection. The man braved dangers endless simply to seek his weakness. In his greener days with more amateur skills, in crises where death denied him even after kills, he learnt why curse is a synonym for blessing, for he saw that visage of terror at life's closing. The man seems unmoved when this past is mentioned. Having braved death 9 times, he who was once lacking now excels above everyone else, still rising. Yet, when asked if he's still as ticklish as when he was a child, he does not answer. It's a wild tale he won't care to opine. It's said that Castrum Kremnos has secrets divine, through which the king's power has passed a one-man army by strength in their bloodline.
Therefore, a traitor who does not inherit the throne is a king most infirm.
As the protagonist hears these words, he refutes not, but openly responds,
These are not rumors unfounded. But will they matter if my deeds eclipse those of all other kings, achieving glory beyond?
Never turning back in war, he seizes all our glory.
That rumor in the war camp of fury often casts a shadow on the man's heart, indestructible and fiery. When campaigns become mired in terror, he sends his army to places safe and secure, yet alone he goes to fight, knowing death can touch him ne'er. The Kremnoan detachment who follows him in livery all die in bed, devoid of glory. They have their share of grudges upon death, but the man has no regret, none necessary.
Your glory lies not in death, but in my hands.
The dust settles, and strife calms. A deathly quiet covers his father's realm, and the man alone returns home. A question seems to sound from shadows of the past around.
Did you already walk that flame-chasing road, O king?
Atop the throne, the man mutters alone.
There's nothing else worthy of the hunt, for I am the blazing fire at the journey's end.
As it has been foretold, he killed the king to become a king, and killed the god to become a god. His eternal destiny is to be crowned in blood. To the dead, when she bids farewell, she casts the slate into the fire, an act futile. I have never heard of lands with such customs. At this time, something drizzles down the slate, full of colors, seemingly tears for the reaper of chills. It turns out the slate is inscribed with poems, and every phrase is diligently colored with skill.
Before people pass away, I write down these poems.
That is the limit of the girl's answer, and she only responds with silence for requests to read these poems. As time goes by, she finally opens her petal-veiled heart, and the reason behind her reluctance to show her work is finally clear.
My poems are still too green. Not worthy to be art.
It stems from the girl's shame and discomfort. It seems the girl once also loved to imagine with effort, and many wild tales were written on her part. A misunderstanding was what made her cease this art. It was a pair of arch-enemies who gained fame in the war. One of them burst into laughter after reading the girl's poetic words.
He and I clearly wish to kill and tear each other apart. But in your eyes, you think we are close, unable to part.
She did not write poetry as a pastime. It is said that she left great works under hundreds of names. In different times, she even criticized her previous beliefs, making her identity even harder to assume. I still found her weakness after many twists and turns. No matter how fickle her thoughts, she never lost faith in those words regarding the value of fragile mortal lives. She is heartbreaking and enchanting. She is the fingertips of death and the ghost of love and poetry. However, those poems have brought her many complaints. The poems that her hands composed all lack an ending of any kind, and the Maid of Death has no desire to continue them.
This is truly difficult to write.
The girl excuses herself.
My duty is to lead the living to the end. I cannot think of a fitting end for a poem to the dead.
Such is the epitome of lies. One who's grown used to death remains inexperienced with farewells. Therefore, I extend her an invitation. In this story belonging to herself, she can leave an ending reserved only for her.
What she brings is not only death.
She thus replied when we first met. And when we meet once again for the last time, she again deliberates over this closing statement.
Apart from death, there is something else that is worth remembering.
That is the journey she walked.
Mem. 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 Mem.